The object of today's lesson is to get you to read the blessing in Hebrew. And once you've done it a few times, you won't panic. You won't be like me with this screen sharing. Your heart won't start to give you like a little mini heart attack. So I wanted to go through, that's why I gave you, you all got the vocabulary. So there's certain Jewish vocabulary, there's synagogue vocabulary. So I thought it would be very important to give you those words so you know what people are talking about. Now Gabbai, there's two Gabbayim. I always tease and I say there's a Helloim and the Gabbayim. So I've Gabbai'd for many years. There's Gabbai Rishon. Rishon means first, the head Gabbai, and Gabbai Sheni. Basically, the Gabbai Rishon is the one who does the calling up and checking the reading. So that person you'll see will always have on the bima next to them, they're going, not the bima, the shulchan on the table, the reading desk, they're going to have the chumash and they're going to have a prayer book. On the other side, so that would be, if you're looking out at the congregation, that person is going to be on the left. That's the Gabbai Rishon. Okay, let's say you're standing, looking out at the congregation, you're in front of the desk, and on the left is the Gabbai Rishon. Other side of the table, the reading table, is the Gabbai Sheni. So the second Gabbai does not correct the reading unless the first Gabbai falters and they hear the mistake, but they don't usually interrupt. That the second Gabbai is sometimes called a silent Gabbai, because once somebody finishes a reading, Torah is open and they have the yad and they read it, then they roll it back, they close it. And the second Gabbai, the Gabbai Sheni, will take the velvet cover or the brocade cover or the knitted cover, whatever it is, and put it on top of the Torah. That's really protocol. And when the next person comes up to read, they take it off and they hold it, put it over their arm. And the next reader will open the Torah and begin their reading. That person also will assist when, at the end of the Torah reading, when after they've held the Torah up and they put it down on the desk, well, they'll hold it up and then they'll go to sit down in one of the pews, the person who has Hagbah raising it, and someone else is going to roll it together. That's Galila. If they're having trouble putting the cover on or the mantle, the band around the Torah, the Gabbai Sheni will assist them. Sometimes it's the person's first time, it's at an event, and they really don't know what they're doing, but they've been given the honor. So the Gabbai Sheni knows what to do and helps them find the holes to put it on the wooden Atzei Chaim, the mantles. But that person is generally a silent one. So that's Gabbai. Plural is Gabbayim. And you have the Gabbai Sheni. Second, the Gabbai Rishon, the main one. And by the way, in the correction of the Torah, hi, Jackie. Hi. Gonna log you in. Good to see you. All right, Jackie Fleischman in the Fleisch.
Hello, everyone.
Okay. So the Gabbai Rishon, when they're correcting, if the trope is wrong, they don't correct. Because when you have a long reading, your trope will sometimes get confused. Their job is to correct the actual word. So if they say Rishon and the word is Rishonah, then they'll quietly say Rishonah. You don't want it blasting out over the whole synagogue. You don't want to blare it into the microphone. They'll just whisper it to the person who's reading. So if it doesn't change the meaning of the word, sometimes they leave it go if it's a minor mistake. But if it would change the meaning, they definitely correct it. So they'll correct the Hebrew, but not the trope, not the notes. Okay, because everybody can make mistakes in that. And when you have a perfect reading, you know, if you have a long reading, it's hard to have a perfect reading. Hi, Elaine.
Carol,
Yeah.
Carol, in your school, does the gabbai correct the rabbi? Because we've had that. Our gabbai sits there, and
Yes.
sometimes the rabbi will
Yes.
make a mistake, and the gabbai, they always thanks them because they will call attention
Yes.
to any mistake that the rabbi makes.
Absolutely. It's an egalitarian shul. Rabbi is equal to everybody else. Yes,
That's right.
they will correct the rabbi. Hi, Faye.
Oh, hi.
They will correct the rabbi. And then the rabbi goes, oh, yeah, thanks for, oh, yeah, because if you make a mistake, sometimes it throws your reading off.
And particularly during COVID, when the rabbi is basically doing the vast majority of Torah readings.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, what we were doing, because that is a huge job. What we were doing is when only 11 people were allowed in and the rabbi was doing all the reading, they read out of the Chumash. They did not read out of the Torah because we are not on a triennial cycle. We read the entire Parsha. So that's, a huge thing to do every week. So he would read it out of the Chumash, out of the Bible. And when he had the Haftorah, he would read it sometimes, no, they didn't do it he would read it in Hebrew again, but out of the book, but that is in Hebrew anyway, but that's got the notes, that's got the vowels. That's easy to read if you're a good Hebrew reader. Okay, so.
Carol,
Who has her hand up?
I do, Susan.
Yeah,
Oh, Sue.
Yeah.
Oh, Carol, just a question about the Haftarah.
Yes.
I thought it was always read out of the book, not the scrolls.
It is. We have a scroll for Haftorahs, and on Yom Kippur, there's somebody who reads on Yom Kippur, the first day, he reads it out of this special scroll. But no, it's read out of a book. It is read out of a book. The longest Haftorah of the year, does anyone know which one it is?
Ooh.
It's Jonah. And
of course. Yom Kippur.
Yeah, because it's a book
Great
of
way
Jonah.
to pass the day.
And that is chanted in the afternoon of Yom Kippur. And I've had the privilege of doing it about 3 or 4 times. And you don't have any water. By the time you finish, you're ready to die. You just can't, your throat is so dry, it's so awful. It really is. But anyway, I like doing Jonah. In fact, I like it so much. I always give an introduction to whatever Haftorah I'm doing. I read it and I make a commentary which relates to today or something political, which is my bent. And so one year I wanted to do something funny, and I wanted to do it about the so-called whale, which is in Hebrew is dag gadol. The Hebrew word, it's big fish. Big fish.
Yeah, you think?
So anyway, it's supposed to be a whale. I looked online and I found that there was a place that had all kinds of animals and aquatic creatures, mammals of the water, stuffed animals. So I sent, it's about 12 inches across. I sent for Jonah's companion. I sent for a stuffed whale, and I called him Levi the Leviathan. And I bring him to shul whenever I have the Jonah Haftorah. I bring it to shul, and it's just a laugh. It's just fun. All right. So
you ready? You want it up?
Yeah. So
Okay.
the Bima is a platform, and that's in our shul. You go up 1 or 2 steps.
Carol, do you want the document with the Torah blessing, or you want the document with the roots?
The Torah blessings.
Okay.
The Torah blessings. Okay. So the first Aliyah always goes in we are egalitarian, and in I guess Orthodox, Hasidic, whatever. The first Aliyah always goes to a Kohen, not a Bat Kohen, a Kohen, legitimate Kohen. And the second Aliyah usually goes to a Levi. If there's no Levi, the Kohen can read the first and second. if there's no Levi, then you have it, Yisrael.
I've been getting it in our synagogue. I've been getting it as a bat Levi.
Really,
About,
it
yeah,
depends on the Maradatra. It depends on the
yeah.
rabbi. In our shul, as I wrote to you, the most learned and the best Torah reader, better than the rabbi, equal to the cantor, is a bat Kohen. I think she's also married to a Kohen, but they don't accept a bat, the daughter of a Kohen,
Mhm.
for the first Aliyah. And they're pretty strict about that. Ah, Sue is here. Very good. Now we have a full house today. This is wonderful. I love it. I love it. I love it. So Kohen gets the first, Levi gets the second. And then after that, you can have one of the hoi polloi like me. You can have an Israelite, which is fine. I'm happy being in
And
Israel.
if you are a bat Levi, your son is not. My son, I told my son, I said, no, you don't get it. I said, my
No.
father was, but your father was a Israelite, so you
Right.
don't get it.
Yeah, but we don't even recognize a woman who's Bat Kohen. You know, she'd have to be. She's just because she's a woman. If it was a son, a Ben Kohen, fine.
course.
But they still have that bit of discrimination. I'll say. Okay.
Okay,
Elaine,
So-
can you make it a teensy bit bigger, please?
sure, hold on.
All right. So let's see what else. Vocabulary. All right. So
I
I
make this
gave
one
you-
bigger. Hold on 1 second. I'm struggling to make this bigger.
that looks pretty
No, I
good.
didn't do it as a, oops. You can see it though, right?
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, under view, you just.
It's not, it's, I didn't do it as a PDF, so I'm having some issues in getting this bigger.
All right. I think it looks pretty. It's bigger than what I sent out. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's bigger than what you sent out was small,
Small.
so I couldn't get
Small.
it.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So the other words I wanted to go over. So the word aliyah, actually in Israel they would say aliyah. And aliyah is also a person who makes aliyah to Israel is one who goes to live there. Now the verb la'alot means to go up. So if you make aliyah to Israel, you are going up spiritually, even though geographically it's south of the United States.
Well,
So
East.
aliyah means going up. So when you get an aliyah, so we anglicize it, we say aliyah, but it's aliyah. So when you, like right now, our reading table is on the same level as the pews. And the rabbi is, his lectern and the cantors are up a few stairs, just like 3 little steps. So the idea is when you have an aliyah, it's also spiritually going up. Okay, it is a great honor to have an aliyah to the Torah. Now, in a regular Torah reading, a regular Shabbat, not on a holiday, you're going to have 7 aliyot. 7. First goes to the Kohen, the second goes to the Levi, the third can go to an Israelite. The last aliyah, the 7th aliyah, has a part, like 3 or 4 verses, sometimes it's a little longer, and that's the maftir. It's the end of the last aliyah. If a bar mitzvah child is not really great in Hebrew, instead of giving them the whole 7th aliyah, they'll give them just the maftir, which might be as little as 3 or 4 lines. But he'll have the honor of saying the blessing for that. And then he'll have the blessing, he'll say the maftir, and then usually he will do the haftorah. The person who does the blessing on the maftir is the same person who does the haftorah. So if I am reading the haftorah, when they call yamod or ta'amod, hamaftira, I will go up, I'll say the blessing, Torah blessings on the maftir reading. And then I stand there and the person who's reading it reads it. Then I say the blessing after the maftir. And then they'll hold the Torah up, they'll put it on the side. And when I get ready to do the Haftorah, then I do the blessings. I do the blessing before the Haftorah, I do the Haftorah, and then I do the blessings after the Haftorah. Okay, so if you're doing the Haftorah, a lot of blessings.
Carol, so you said there's always 7 aliyahs?
On
7
Shabbat. On Shabbat. Now, on a holiday, they'll have 5. Okay?
So, I mean, you're reading a portion of the Torah, so they always break it up into 7 parts, whether it's big or long or short or whatever, they just have to break it up.
Except, like it
to
was,
7.
there's some double parshiot, and those are killers. Because the one for this coming Shabbat is a double, Tazria and Metzora, all about leprosy and fungus and mold on the walls of your house.
It's funny, I don't remember.
And when the rabbi sees these, you've got these white hairs on your arm
Yeah.
and like a little indentation, a little, and unclean, unclean. And then you're out of the camp for 7 days at least.
No, I just don't remember 7 aliyahs or 7 different portions. Do they?
Ah, okay.
Mm.
Some synagogues do what's called a triennial. Most Reform synagogues do that. Tri, like triangle, meaning 3.
Uh-huh.
So most Reform synagogues are on a 3-year cycle, which means that they divide the Torah portion into into thirds. So the first reading would be, they read only a third, and the second reading only a third. And the following year, they'll read the second third of each aliyah. So
Oh,
it's much shorter,
okay, so in other words, they're not reading the whole thing.
right? They'll
Just
read, within 3
represent
years, they'll read the whole parsha. They
So
read
they
only
make a
1/3 each year.
Sample and say that's good enough. Okay,
Now,
maybe, I don't know.
this Shabbat, Tazria and Metzora, it's a killer. If you look in your, if you have a Chumash, or, take a look at the reading, not only are the words crazy, because the words are about skull and burn, and I was supposed to do a reading that was given to me by this wonderful Torah reader, and it's 15 lines, which is almost a whole column, which is a lot for me in the time that she assigned me. And I started looking at it, and I started memorizing, and then I called her up finally, and I said, I will not be able to do a credible job by Shabbat with 1 week's notice. I can't do this. If it had a storyline. So then the rabbi said he would do it. So now he's got 2 readings, and I feel bad for him because these are hard, but he's.
Can you
a
repeat the name
professional.
of it, Carol? Sorry, what's the name of it again?
Tazria and Metzora.
No, I mean, Tazria Mitzvah. Okay, 459.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and it's very long. There's another one which was it's coming up. I think the following week. Kadoshim and Acharemot. That's another double. So your Torah readers are getting a workout. So if they go on vacation and say, I'm not doing any more readings for the next month, you'll understand why.
So Carol, if it's a double, then how many aliyahs would there be?
Still 7. That's why they.
Still seven. Okay.
So what you're reading is twice as much as you would ordinarily read.
Okay.
And that's crazy. All right, so I think I've gone through all the words. So Aliyah, the Bima, the platform. And by the way, in Israel, the National Theater is called Habima, the platform, the stage. Habima, I thought that's kind of interesting. So we said what the Maftir is, the Haftorah, Kohen Levi. Okay, lifting is Hagba. I always said Hagba. When I looked up the Hebrew, it says Hagbaha. I don't know why, but we always call it Hagba. Hagba is the one who holds the Torah up, and theoretically, you're supposed to open it up. Now you have this heavy Torah, open it up so that 3 columns show. And then you can expect a fast if it's somebody who drops it.
That happened in a synagogue about 30 miles south of me a
Really?
few years back. It was
What happened?
quite as they dropped the Torah.
Then what happened? Did you have to fast?
I don't know what they did, but there were a lot of articles in the Jewish publications about it and a lot of,
Knowing
So
Jews,
does it rip? Can you rip it? Would it rip if you dropped it like that?
no, it'll just drop. Yeah,
mean-
we had it, it looked like it was gonna drop one Shabbat and everybody went running to this kind of, the backup.
It's animal skin, isn't it?
Yes,
I mean, so
parchment, it's animal skin, it is.
I always
So
think,
but it's sewn together.
yeah.
The thing is, knowing Jewish people, they probably would have made everybody make a donation of a certain amount.
oh, they did all sorts of things like that. It was quite a public discussion.
Yeah, it was a disaster.
They're heavy.
You know, it's, that rabbi's not there anymore.
Well, if you've never carried a Torah, they are heavy.
They are.
And I carried one in New York, and it was very heavy. And I said to the rabbi, who was a friend, don't give me the heavy one. She gave me the silver one. And a
Well-
friend of mine came to my rescue, a guy, and he grabbed it because it was just too much to carry, and lift it, forget.
Well, on Simchas Torah, I always get a Torah and we dance with them. So I get it, and you're wearing your talit and your tzitzit are flying and you're dancing around with it. And I'm hanging on to that thing.
Good deal.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I made it bigger, by the way. I just figured out it was pressing
Thank
the
you.
wrong one. So it's
So-
very big.
the last word I had was Galila. So it's an honor to get Hagba holding the Torah. And Galila is the one who rolls it together. And then they bring it over to, somebody sits with it. And then they have a band, a gartel. And that person who has the Galila honor puts the band around the Torah and puts the cover on. That's Galila.
That's it.
Okay, so they go over to the person who's sitting and it may be open a little bit and they roll it tight and put the band around and then they put the cover on. And then like we have a holder, so they put it on the holder and then you're ready for the Haftorah. So the verb is galgal is the root and galgal means to roll. Galgalim are wheels. Okay, galgal is a wheel, galgalim. And by the way, with the Hagba, I have the adjective gavoha. Gavoha means high, gavoha. So there are words that are related to the roots. Okay, so the first thing that you do when you come up to receive the honor is you need to know your Hebrew name. If you are a man, they'll call out Ya'amod, Chaim ben Yankel, whatever. Ya'amod is he will stand, will stand. And the person comes up, and if the gabbai doesn't have a list, if it's not like a bar mitzvah or baby naming or something like that, and they'll look expectantly at the person like, okay, what's your Hebrew name? So then they'll say, supposing the person's name is Yitzchak. Yitzchak, the son of Ben. Now he has to give his father's name. Yitzchak ben, let's say, Chaim. So in an Orthodox shul, I don't know if they give the mother's name. We're egalitarian. So I'm waiting and I say, okay, I hear his name, Yitzchak. So I go, okay, Ya'amod, Yitzchak ben Chaim. And then if he says and he gives his mother's name, Visara. So Ya'amod, Chaim, Yitzchak ben Chaim, Visara. Now, if it's a Kohen, if it's a first Aliyah, you have to give the father the due. So Ya'amod, Yitzchak, Yitzchak ben Chaim HaKohen Visara. And the Levi Aliyah, the second one, Ya'amod, Yitzchak ben Chaim HaLevi, the Shendel. So if it's the first two Aliyahs, you've got to give the whole honor to the Kohen and the Levi. Okay. If a woman comes up, you say ta'amod. Ta'amod. Tzvia bat, and her father's name.
Shimshon,
Ta'amod Tzvia bat Shimshon. Do you give your mother's name too in your shul?
yeah. And my father was a Levi.
Okay.
So it would be
Ta'amod Tzvia bat Shimshon Halevi the
Tybal. Yeah, Tybal.
Tybal la'aliyah harishona, because the word aliyah is feminine, so I have to use feminine number. Rishon is masculine. La'aliyah harishona, to the first aliyah. La'aliyah hashniya, la'aliyah hashlishit, haravi'it, hachamishit. So you give the numbers feminine because aliyah is a feminine word. It ends in a hey. Okay. When you learn, you kind of take a training to be a gabbai. I had to take training, like a little class. And you keep refining your knowledge for different situations that come up. Okay, so each congregant receiving an aliyah recites these brachot. Bracha, blessing, brachot, blessings. And the first one goes,
So if we're giving our Hebrew name, we use the man and the woman with the vet in between.
yeah, depending on your shul. Some shuls, if it's a Orthodox or non-egalitarian conservative, it could be a non-egalitarian conservative shul, then they won't want they won't ask you for your mother's name. But I always kind of wait, and I go, Amod, and I give the father, it's a Ben, and then I look at them, and if they shake their head or that's it, they don't say anymore, that's where I stop. Okay, you don't want to embarrass somebody. You don't want to make them give their mother's name if they grew up semi-Orthodox and they're not comfortable with that. So the cardinal rule, I think, in all of Yiddishkeit is do not embarrass anybody in everything. Don't embarrass somebody.
Carol, I don't want to belabor it. I'm sorry if
Go
it's,
ahead.
so does the Kohen mean that I had the wrong idea all these years. I thought it meant that your last name was Cohen or a Levi. It means last name was Levy.
A lot of times that's true.
Or it's just coincidence. Or do you just know that you're a Kohen and you know that you're a Levi, you just know it because
Yes.
it was handed down to you, your parents tell you?
Exactly.
Is there a connection with your last name is Cohen?
Usually someone whose last name is Cohen or Khan or something like that.
Carol, very often when people were coming here on a boat, they changed their names to whoever sponsored them. So the name may not be a connection.
Yeah,
that's possible.
My father's family was Blackman, which was changed from Blechen. And, I knew that he was a former rabbinical student. So it was passed down to myself and my brother that he was a rabbi, but
Yeah.
it had nothing to do with our last names.
Right. Like some people with
Kohen means you were a
Levy,
rabbi?
Levinson, Levin. I mean,
A student. Rabbinical
good-
student.
You were a rabbinical student. is
He had been a
all.
rabbinical student. He was going to be ordained and he left, but he was a
Okay,
rabbinical student in a yeshiva in New York.
Good morning, this is Marcia. I have a answer.
okay.
Marsha. Hey,
Hi,
Marsha.
Marsha.
How are you?
I'm fine. I finally got a new computer, but then I had to set Zoom up but I'm here. I'm
Okay.
finally here.
Hey.
What's the
Yeah.
answer? What's the
Okay.
answer?
Okay. My husband is a Levi, and I can answer your question.
Okay.
My husband is Schwartz,
Uh-huh.
but his father is from the Levi tribe.
Right.
And the Levi is passed down from the father, generation after generation after generation.
Right.
And even though way back when Moses was, back from the Passover story, it says that you know, we're going to divide the families and you had the 12 tribes and the Levi family. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm dark.
Okay,
Okay,
When they said, okay, the Levi tribe is this and the Reuben and the Kohen family was going to be
the
the
priest,
co-
the priest.
the priests, and the Levi family were going to be the helpers. And but through the generations, the names changed. Plus, who knew what the Schwartz family were when through the generations? So the thing is, as his father and grandfather and great grandfather, they were of that tribe.
Right.
And so he is, and maybe someone can help me remember how to say it, but at the end, like on my ketubah, it says his Hebrew name, and then it says Levi.
Yeah, how like that?
Okay,
And Jews did not have last comment. Jews did not have last names until
Right,
much later
right.
on.
So the
Originally,
Schwartz
we didn't have-
probably means, this is the way the rabbi explained it to me with my first husband. And with even when I asked about my father, which my maiden name is Zetzer. And they said, well, that's probably a baker or a whatever.
Yeah, it was
You
your,
know,
it was your, basically your,
nation or where you live.
yeah, it had really nothing to do with your position within,
He could have lived in the
Judaism.
Schwarzwald, in the Black Forest.
right.
That's true. Exactly right. So, I mean, it usually had something to do with something else. So, and so the thing is that
Stop it.
even though, yes, there are many Cohens and Levi's and derivatives of those names, that doesn't mean that they're a Kohen
Exactly.
or a
No.
Levi.
As
you would know because your father, somebody would have told you.
that's something that is passed down in the
You're
Jewish.
Kohen,
Yes.
you raise your hand and nobody, would contradict you. Okay, she says she's a Kohen, all right. You
Right.
just- no,
I mean,
yes.
this is something that's passed down. I mean, I'm an Israelite and I know, and my dog is going, just a second, I have to, what's the matter, Lucky?
I guess I must
Yeah.
not be one because nobody ever told me.
You know what my dog's name is? Lucky Mazel.
Yeah.
I
As
was
a woman,
told-
we are not anything.
No.
See, I didn't realize that if your father was a Levi, which my father was, I didn't realize that. Now I'm considered a bat levy, and I don't pass it down. Is that
You don't
correct?
pass it down, no.
You
no,
don't
it's for
pass
the
it down,
males.
only the
You
boys.
don't pass it down, but as
Oh,
a
okay.
daughter, at least in my synagogue, as a
Yeah,
bat levy, I get,
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
other, I get the second aliyah.
yeah, I've had that, but I
he
just didn't
told me I'm
realize that I don't
royalty.
pass it down at
Okay,
all.
No, no.
Anyway.
And the rabbi told me I was royalty.
Let's go.
He said.
All right.
We had so many levies in my congregation that I hardly ever get the aliyah.
All right.
Then we should
All
probably
right,
get.
so
to this.
let's try to get through this today. So
Okay.
now the person comes up, they've given you their name. If they want to give their mother's name also, a bigazint, fine, wonderful. So now we get to the first thing that you say. So now you have that big chart laminated in front of you, but this is what it says. It goes like this. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. The first word is Baruch hu.
Who?
And it's like it's not it's Baruch hu, Baruch hu, et. Now you have the Yud Hey Vav Hey, or I don't know if your chart will have that or two Yuds. That's Adonai. Don't try to sound it out. Baruch hu, et Adonai. Et, I told you, is not a word that's translated. It's before a direct object. So bless God. Bless God. Hamvorach, who is to be blessed. Ha is the, mivorach, the one to be blessed. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Now let's try it. I'll say it. You try to say it after me. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Try it.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
And listen and repeat. That was excellent. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
Now, it's really important that that first word is Baruch hu, because that's a command. Okay, it's not Baruch. So if someone gets up there and they're nervous, it's not Baruch yet. You have to keep your eye on that line, Baruch hu. So blessed is God who is to be blessed. Bless God, the one to be blessed. Okay. Now, then you pause. And where it says congregation, then the congregation says Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed. So everything is the same, except the first word is Baruch. Okay, when you spoke, you said Baruch hu. They say Baruch Adonai. There's no et. Hamborach Leolam Va'ed. That phrase means forever and ever. Leolam Va'ed. So everybody says that. Now, if you look at the next line, it says congregant repeats above response, then continues. So you're going to say that line. Baruch, Baruch, Baruch. Why is this like this? This is really confusing, this one.
Why?
I don't
The
know.
first line you start Baruch hu et Adonai Hamborach, and then the congregation says Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed, and you
Yeah,
said it again.
Yes, but it's, in my prayer book, or the way I have it written out, I think it's, it says congregant continues. There actually, it would be better, and our chart in our synagogue has the Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed as a separate line and a space, and then the blessing, because you might forget to say it, because it should be printed twice. That's the way it is in the.
Okay,
Right.
got it.
Yes,
Okay.
it should be printed twice.
It
because
is printed
it's
twice.
printed
It's
twice.
just it was small, the print was too small to see, so that's why I did this one. I can switch to the other one if you prefer. It'll take
Yeah, that's
me
okay.
No,
10
Yeah.
seconds.
Anyway,
no.
I'm reading it on my
so you're
computer.
listening.
Yeah.
So you said Baruch hu Adonai Hamborach, and then you're quiet for a second, and everyone says Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed. Then you repeat Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed. So Baruch, it's different from Baruch hu, and you have to make sure that you are actually reading it and not trying to memorize it, because you'll say the wrong word.
I've been there when somebody didn't.
Okay, a lot of people, if they are nervous or they don't really,
They started doing a bracha over the candles. I'm going, what?
they get nervous, right? So let's try. Listen to me. I'll be the congregation, and then you repeat where it says congregation. Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed. Okay, you're the reader. Everybody says it.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed.
Okay, so now let's go back. What have you said? You did Baruch Hu Adonai Hamborach. Then you waited. You heard Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed. You repeat that line. Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed. And you continue with the blessing for the Torah, which goes like this. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan banu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu. So now let's see, what does it mean? All right, so the first line you said was, blessed is God, the one to be blessed forever and ever. Leolam Va'ed. Now, the Torah blessing says, blessed art thou, O God, King of the universe, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu, Melech, King, Ha'olam, of the universe, Asher, who, Bachar, chose, Banu, us, Asher Bachar Banu, Mikol Ha'amim, and here's the idea of selectness, of electedness, chosenness, Mikol Ha'amim, from all the nations, and Natan, and gave lanu, and gave us, v'natan lanu, et Torato, his Torah, God's Torah. Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, O Lord, who gives the Torah, notain ha-Torah.
Oh,
So, I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff there. We're saying that we have been given the Torah from all the nations that existed at the time. Only we were at the foot of Mount Sinai. And this was a special gift to the Jewish people, to the Israelites. So again, it goes like this. Baruch atah Adonai. We're going to do it a little at a time. I'll sing it, you sing it. Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai.
And I want everybody to repeat. Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Eloheinu melech haolam.
Eloheinu melech haolam.
Asher bachar banu.
Asher bachar banu.
Mikol ha'amim.
Mikol ha'amim.
V'natan lanu.
V'natan lanu.
Et Torato.
Et Torato.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Notain haTorah.
Notain haTorah.
Okay, so that's the one that you read right before. Right after you say that, so you're going to be to the right of the reader. The reader is right in front of the Torah. You are to the right of the reader. And you're going to hold on to one of the Atzei Chaim, one of the handles, one of the rollers. They tell you hold this. And the reader will hold the left one. So the Torah is open. Okay. And when the reading finishes, so again, in taking an aliyah, if you're man or woman, if you're wearing a talit before
Wait just a second, I have to mute myself.
before the reading begins, you take the tzitzit and you touch the word that begins the reading. You did that, Helene?
yes. When
Okay.
when we're in person, we haven't been coming up to the bima.
Right.
Even though we're in the shul, we don't go up to the bima. But when we did it in person, you would take your talit. And they ask in our shul, I think everybody who does a aliyah does wear a talit, whether it's theirs or they pick it up at the when they come in. And then you take the end, you put it up, you know,
Right.
point to it.
So if a person is not wearing a talit, then the Gabbai Sheni gives them the band, the gartel, like a velvet band, and they use that to touch. So there are people who have grown up in Orthodox households and women, and they were told not to, that they couldn't wear a talit. So if they come up and a man is wearing like a pair, and a man is wearing a talit with a tzitzit and a woman is not, they give her the band, or just a woman without a, but she must have a head covering. She has to have a head covering. But if she's not wearing a tallis, because to a lot of women it's strange, it feels foreign if they weren't brought up with it, then she'll take this gartel, the band, and she'll touch the first word, kiss it, and then she starts the blessings. So there's a whole choreography with this. It's very painful to me when a bar mitzvah family come up and they cannot recite the blessing, that they haven't even practiced the transliteration. It's embarrassing. If your child is having a bat mitzvah or a bar mitzvah and they've studied for months and the parent comes up to receive an aliyah and they fumfa, they can't even follow the transliteration. It's just embarrassing. You would think that they would prepare, but okay, after the reading.
Let me move down on the screen.
So now it says, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet V'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. So it means, Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, God, our Lord, Eloheinu, Melech, King, Ha'olam, of the universe. And the second one says, Asher, who, Natan Lanu, gave us. Now, it's slightly different from the one before. Torat Emet, the Torah of truth. V'chaye Olam, in everlasting life. Nata, he planted. B'tochenu,
What is Nata? What is Nata?
planted.
Like a tree?
Oh, yes, lintoa is to plant, like a tree.
Tree of
He
life, right?
planted, if you look at the translation, it's really nice. He planted in us, v'chaye, and a life of, and for everlasting life, he planted within us.
B'tochenu.
What does b'tochenu mean?
Okay, toch is within, be, in, toch, inside, nu, us, b'tochenu.
Oh, he planted it within us.
Yeah. Then the Baruch atah Adonai, blessed art thou, God, notain, who gives the Torah. And those are the last, that is the same last line as in the previous blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, notain haTorah. Okay, so let's try this. I'll do a little phrase at a time. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu melech haolam,
Eloheinu melech haolam,
asher natan lanu,
asher
asher
natan
natan
lanu
Torat emet,
Torah
emet,
v'chaye olam,
v'chaye olam
nata b'tochenu,
nata
b'tochenu,
Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch atah Adonai,
noten haTorah.
noten haTorah.
Torah.
So that is the blessing. That's the before, that's the after. And you can probably go online and look on YouTube and find that probably pretty readily.
Prayer Oki has it. For those of you who've gone on to it, Prayer
Yeah, I looked
Oki
at that
has it.
karaoke, but for the via Hulu, it was Cantor was doing chazanis. Let me just see. Did I not get any? Is Helene here? Hannah Grants?
Let's see.
Not today. Okay, and is Esther here? Esther
I'm
Hellman?
here.
Good. Yofi. And Ella?
I'm here.
Good. Wow. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. So it's now 10 of. The second thing I wanted to do, just at least introduce the Chatzi Kaddish.
Hatzi Kaddish? Okay, hold on one
And
second.
as I said, it's not a prayer for the dead. It's not a prayer for drinking wine, because the prayer for the dead is the Kaddish, plain Kaddish. And this is called Hatzi Kaddish. And Kiddush is for drinking wine. So Hatzi Kaddish is not the prayer for the dead. That's a plain Kaddish, the mourner's Kaddish. And you'll see it listed in the prayer book as mourner's Kaddish. Okay? But the Hatzi Kaddish is used to separate parses, sections of the service. So when you get to the end, like on Shabbat morning, when you get to the end of the Shacharit part of the service, the morning, then they do Chatzi Kaddish. So if you just walked into shul and you hear Chatzi Kaddish, you know that one section of the service is over. The morning blessings, the morning service is over. At the end of the Torah service, they recite the Chatzi Kaddish again. And you know that the Torah portion is over. And at the end, the Musaf. So it is as a divider has nothing to do with the dead and has nothing to do with wine. It is like a reminder that that section of the service is over. You came in too late to hear the shacharit because now you're hearing the Hansi Kaddish. Oh, we're going on now to the main Torah service. Okay. So it goes like this. And actually, after the seventh Aliyah, the Gabbai Rishon recites this. So, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba b'yomadi
Amen.
v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'chayei chol beit Yisrael ba'gala u'bizman kariv v'yimeru, and everyone says,
Amen.
and the congregation says,
Say,
"Hey, Rabba,
Bamivora,
Olam Yom
Yitvora,
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei Kudusha min kol birchata v'shirata." And everyone joins in. Amen. Okay.
Carol, are the words in this different from the mourner's Kaddish?
Oh,
The
yeah.
actual words. The words are different, yeah. And the tune is different, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't compared them, but let me see. No, I think I'd have to really see if all the words are the same.
I think it might be the same, but it's
Yeah.
different intent.
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, at the end is different though, isn't it?
I really
I was
want
just curious.
to look side by side.
Yeah.
So you probably have encountered these words before because we did the mourner's Kaddish.
Right.
This is the Chatzi Kaddish, and Chetzi or Chatzi means half. So it's for the half.
Yeah, I've seen it on Google spelt both ways, Hatzi and Hatzi, which
Yeah,
is
they'll
which
have
is
it with the CH. I put CH because I want you to say Chatzi, but they'll have it the letter H with a dot under it. And when you see that, it's like a CH. It's like a chet. It's a ch sound, but it's not Hatzi. It's Chat.
Hatzi, like Hanukkah, the
Yeah, like
CH, no H.
Hanukkah, not Hanukkah. You know, he's saying it in Hebrew. So we could go over the words. Anyway, let's go over the words. Okay, so repeat them after me. Yitgadal,
Yitgadal,
Yitkadash,
Yitkadash,
Shemei Rabbah.
Shemei Rabbah,
The next word is Bi'olma. Bi'olma, D. Bara, Chirute, V'yamlich, Malchute, V'chayechon. So we looked at the chet after the bet and the chaf. So there's two ch sounds. B'chayechon, uv'yomechon, aye, all Yisrael, ba'agala, bizman, hariv, Imru. Amen.
Amen.
The Imru is a command, a plural command, and it means and say that this is true, and say Amen. And this is in Aramaic. You can see all the olives at the end. And the congregation says Yehei, May,
Shmei,
Rabba,
Rabba,
Mivarach,
Mivarach,
Leolam,
Leolam,
Ul'olmei.
U'almei,
May,
I'll do that again. Ul'olmei,
U'almei,
Olmaya.
Almaya.
Okay, that's, everybody says that. Then the reader, whoever's saying it, if it's a Gabbai Rishon at the end of the Torah reading, the Gabbai Rishon will say Yitbarach,
Yibarach,
Yishtabach,
Yishtabach,
Yitzha'ar,
Yitzhar,
V'yitromam,
Yitzramam,
V'yitnaseh,
Yitzhaseh,
V'yithadar,
Are
Yit'aleh,
Yitzhaleh,
next line, Yithalal,
Yitzhalel,
Shemei,
Shemei,
the Kudusha.
the Kudusha,
okay, Barich Hu,
Barichu,
Le'ela.
Le'ela,
I don't know all the times, but I know on Yom Kippur they use that Le'ela Mikol. And I don't know exactly all the times when that's, but I know that it's around Rosh Hashanah. It's definitely on Yom Kippur. So let's say Le'ela Min Kol Birchata.
Kol Birchata,
Is it Birkata or Chota?
Chata,
Birkata or Birchota?
Birchata.
Birkata.
Shirata.
Shirata,
Shushachata.
Shushachata,
V'nechemata.
Menechemata,
Amiron.
Amiron,
Yoma.
Alma,
Imru.
Imru, Amen.
Is it Da'amiran or Da'amiron?
Amiran,
Damiron. Biolma.
Da'amiran, okay.
Carol, on the next to the last line, the last word.
Biolma.
The Alma. It's the
This one
has
is
to pronounce like an R.
Biolma.
Okay.
Alma,
It's not all, it's all.
Damiron. Biolma.
Alma.
Amen. So if you look at the words, the beginning, the reader says, hallowed and enhanced may he be throughout the world of his own creation. Blessing God. May he cause his sovereignty soon to be accepted during our life and the life of all Israel. And let us say Amen. Amen means it's so. Then everybody says, may he be praised throughout all time. Now, this is a very good, the teacher in me says, if you're teaching adjectives, this is a very good paragraph to teach adjectives: glorified and celebrated, lauded and praised, acclaimed and honored, extolled and exalted. All it means the same thing. They're all adjectives. May the Holy One be beyond all song and psalm, beyond all tributes which mortals can utter. And
Wait, where are you?
I'm reading the English.
No, I know. I'm just looking at the Hebrew.
Where in the Hebrew are you?
Oh, okay. Last paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Okay, so Yitbarach, praised, v'yishtabach, celebrated. But now this is in Aramaic, but this is what it says. It's all those adjectives. So if you were teaching adjectives, this is perfect. This is, I don't know if I could think of any more synonyms for glorified and wonderful and fabulous and, but I like this part that says, may the Holy One be beyond all song and psalm, beyond all tributes. Forget the stuff we just said, which mortals can utter, beyond all tributes. It's in English. Let's see. Shirata would be song, tushbechata. I really don't, this is Aramaic, so this is hard for me to translate.
Oh, okay. I got you.
It's down at the bottom that they have the,
Yeah, but I mean, I would have to really look this up. It's Aramaic, so it's a little different from, everyday Hebrew. But I mean, so we just said all these phrases, and then it says, beyond anything you could possibly, you humans, beyond anything you could possibly think of to say to praise God. That's what it is. And then everybody has to say, yep, that's right. Amen. Let's drink to that. So, I mean, it just give me chills because the wording is so celebratory, and the praise is you can't even think, or no higher words can come out of your mouth. I mean, when you really look at this in English, it's quite something. So anyway, I would say for next week, practice this and look at the melodies. Now, our cantor sometimes does this with like a very kind of a skippy, like Yit Gadal V'Yit Kadash Shemei Shemei Rabba Amen B'Yoma Div B'Ra Hirut, something like that. So he has a very happy melody. I don't know if you've ever heard it. Die da 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 die die da die 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 da die dee da 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 dum 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 dee 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 dee. That's so at different times in the service, he'll say that. I think he does that at the end after Musaf. But when I do it as a gabbai go Yit Gadal V'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabba.
Yeah.
That's when you finish the Torah reading, and the gabbai does that. So the same prayer can have a different melody at a different time, just to complicate things. Oh, so
I think after a while, you kind of memorize certain parts. Because my problem is I can read it, but I can't read it fast enough to keep up with them.
so like you said, the words.
Maybe we can just practice reading fast, some of the popular ones.
yeah, I agree with you, Elaine, because I have a lot of things like Vishamru and Lecha Dodi. I have it in my brain,
Right.
but when I go to read it, it's a different thing. And then also if the cantor is doing something, and they'll do things where they'll repeat a phrase, but you're reading it and you don't see that phrase repeated in there, and it throws you off.
That's like on Passover when it goes Avadim Hayinu, Pharaoh B'Mitzrayim, Avadim Hayinu, Ata. That's the part. Ata B'nei Chorin. When you're looking in the Haggadah, those words are not there. Those words are later on when you're inviting people who are hungry to come in, and so they've taken those words and they've added that to Avadim Hayinu. And I found it. And I used to tell the kids in the Hebrew school, how come we're saying things, but the words are not here? Where can you find the words? And I found the words. It's like a page or two later. And that was just tacked on to Avadim Hayinu. So, and sometimes cantor will repeat, go back over a line or repeat a certain word, and that messes you up entirely.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they decide to do an entirely different melody. They're practicing a new melody. Right. So
It's just the speed that trips me up. I can't.
well,
Once I lose it, then I have trouble finding it and getting started again.
well, how about this? If you come into services and it's during the Torah reading, and you're trying to find your place without nudging the person next to you. So I'm listening, and I'm before they say, and now we're doing the fourth Aliyah. So I'm looking through and I'm trying to catch a couple of key words,
Right.
and like if it's about Beersheba and the wells, or if it's about Har Sinai, I'm trying to find which Aliyah are they on. So that's a challenge for me. So I'm trying to listen, and I'm quickly skimming down, where are those words? And sometimes I can't catch up after the end of the Aliyah, but that's something I'm working on because from modern Hebrew, you know, I'm listening to the words and trying to get the meaning, the inyan, what is being said here? There's always something new, right? There's always something new.
Carol, what's the reason for women covering their heads?
It's kavod. It's just, it's respect.
Respect. Yeah.
You know, like if a woman is going up to open the ark,
Uh-huh.
they will rush to put a kippah or a shmata, something, you know.
We don't do that, though. We don't do that. I mean,
No,
if
we
the
don't
woman is
require that
opening the
either.
ark, she can come up as she is without the
Right.
talit and without a yarmulke.
The only thing that they want us to do is wear a talit if you are having an aliyah at the bima. But as far as opening the ark, you should be dressed modestly, but the head covering is optional, at least in our synagogue.
Speaking about dressing modestly, I was teaching my 7th grade class quite a few years ago, and the kids were doing participating part of the Saturday morning service, and we used to have a once a month class. And this girl came in, and she's wearing a mini skirt. Now they're sitting on the stairs on the bima, and she's got her legs apart.
We get it. We get it. We get the image.
And modest.
We're
So
upset already. just
I
hearing it.
had said something to her in class. Wouldn't you know, her mother came in and was yelling at me.
Oh, God.
Why did you criticize my daughter? I said, she's sitting there on the bima and she's got her legs open. Yeah, you want your daughter's underwear to be seen?
Even on services on Zoom, we had an issue where somebody was bare chested in our synagogue.
Bare chested?
He was wearing,
Oh, a man.
yeah, and the man, no, but a man was bare chested. He was basically wearing bathing trunks.
It wasn't a pretty sight. It wasn't a pretty
No.
sight. He was
We
an
know
old guy.
him very well. And yeah, no youngster. And basically the person who's running our Zoom basically took off the visual and had said something to him, and he should know better because he's on the board. He should know. But sometimes people don't realize that when you're on Zoom, you know, I've gotten upset with me. I said, I don't want to hear any toilets flushing. You know, people do stuff and they don't realize that it's still there's still something going on, and everything you do can be seen and heard. So you want to be, particularly if you're at a religious service, you want to be modest.
If I'm practicing, you know, teaching and practicing, I always put a kippah on because
And it depends upon the
Thank
person.
prayers. So this is the one my Catholic friend knitted for me, and it's got, a star, wait, this,
And Carol, it depends. When I first came down to Florida and I went to a conservative service, and I have a beautiful talit that I got in Jerusalem, and I was verbally accosted by these women who said, this is a shanda, a woman does not wear. And this
what
is
kind of a
conservative.
shul was it?
Conservative.
Oh,
And I was accosted, and it was a shanda that I was wearing this. And I
well,
was dressed very frum, and I had my talit, and I never went back. That's when I came to our synagogue. I left that.
no, I mean, I was in New York City, and there's a famous rabbi, can't think of his name right now. Anyway, his shul in the winter he's out in the Hamptons. And in the winter, has a shul in the city. So a friend from my synagogue and I went down there, and it's Orthodox, modern Orthodox. And I took my talis out of, you know, we drove down there. She drove me down. I had my talis bag with me. And there's looked like a bicycle rack in between the men and the women. So she was parking the car. So I sat down, I took out my talit, I stood up, I put it on, I kissed the seat. I had my kippah, put kippah on, and I started to participate in the service. And she came in and she was a guest. And she looked at me and she said, did they tell you you could put your talit on? Did you ask? I said, whoops. I said, I forgot to ask. Well, wouldn't you know, a little bit into the service, the man next to me, past the mechitza, said to me, oh, you sing very nicely. Who knows?
Carol, I have a
Think
question
about it.
Sorry.
so second nature, you know.
Okay, we're losing people,
Yeah,
Carol.
I'm going to actually, right now, I paid a little bit of money to go into the JCC of Manhattan. They're having a program about all different kinds of music in Israel to celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut.
Oh, that's so nice.
So if you read
Joy,
the article that I wrote, that was about Yom HaZikaron, and that just came out today in our Shabbat greetings. So we'll see you next week, ladies.